What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Game Builder Garage Reviews. This time is a bit of a different one because, well, we're doing a top 10 list. My number of games count has informed me that I am kind of on the verge of getting it full if I continue on with these things, so I thought I would go and do a top 10 video where I look at all the games I have reviewed in this series before, and yeah, take a look at the ones I have reviewed and make it into a video about like ranking the best ones from top 10. Now this is a review based strictly on how much of a story they can put into it and how much of quality went into the game. But anyway, let's get right into it. So starting off with our number 10th spot is a game that I featured in the second episode of these reviews, which is HueMan Runner. Now, it's a pretty good game when it comes to story, but graphically it's a little basic, but you know what? It's pretty good. It is a very basic platformer from what I've done, but even though I've really done a review of the first world, but you know, it's a pretty solid game, pretty solid series in general. At the number 9 spot is a game that I also featured in the second episode, known as The Factory. Now, at that time, the game was more of a technical demo, and it still is. But, you know what? It's a pretty good one at that. A lot of things are just very accurate in that game, but yeah, it's got a pretty nice storyline, and it's basically, it's just the perfect thing for a Game Builder Garage horror game at this point. So at the 8th spot is a game that I featured in the first episode of this series, and it was a game known as Moonlight Madness. Now, it's a pretty good platformer game, I will admit, and it plays out really well. It definitely kind of somewhat challenges Game Builder Garage, because Game Builder Garage, you know, it's not really that good for 2D if you really want to pull an old school 2D mode, because it's like good and bad at that. So a game like Moonlight Madness is like literally beautiful when compared to a lot of other things. The only reason it really is in a number 8 spot is because one thing that I have noticed is that the main goal, even though it's a bit disambiguous, it's very hard to get to the parts required to achieve that goal. In this case, it's a key, but the key, it's just very hard to get to the place where you need to grab the key perfectly, you know? So that is a bit of a problem. And that was a problem I kind of had with it, but otherwise, pretty solid game. Now, on the number 7 slot is a game that I had first featured in its own short, actually. It didn't do too well, but I believe I used it for like test footage twice on my capture card video. But it's a game known as Little Adventure. I was supposed to feature it in the last showcase video I did, but anyway, it's a game where you play as a person who just has to kill this big giant thing and you win. It is a bit of a challenge though, because, well, they have a lot of health compared to you, and even though you don't die out as quickly, just the fact that they have a lot of health in general, and a lot of the weapons you get throughout the game are kind of not that good at their job. You know, they're like only like 100 damage max, really, so, you know, something along those lines. It is kind of a bit challenging, and if you want to do a full playthrough, it does take a while. It's not really an easily speedrunnable game, but I honestly don't really care about the speedrun aspect, but just some of the mechanics that get introduced to you throughout the games, just really nice. It's very well documented, like with all the controls and stuff. But otherwise, it is very, very simple by design. And I think that's why I kind of made it deserve this number 7 spot. But otherwise, it's a pretty good game and should be played. At the number 6 spot is a game that I'm even contemplating on putting in a way higher slot than it already is, and that is Tetris. Now, Tetris is obviously a classic game. I mean, you go up to someone and you'd probably go and interview them like, "Hey, what's an old game, or name a very old game?" That Tetris would probably be one of the first things they would say, or maybe something along the lines of which game has sold the most units, but not everybody would care too much about that. But yeah, Tetris is just a quintessential game for programming languages, for things that require a lot of programming, or like platforms like operating systems and stuff, to just show off what it can do with graphics and stuff. You know, Tetris is the perfect game for that because it's a very simple one, you know. But anyway, this version of Tetris is pretty good, and you know what? It is actually pretty good for even Game Builder Garage standards, because Game Builder Garage, it's not like that easy to do anything about that. At the number 5 spot, we have Paper Mario: Way to Toad Town. This is a game I did feature in my first review video of Game Builder Garage. Now, this is a game that I featured in the last video, and it's actually pretty good. I'll be honest, and I'll still be honest, I've never really done or played Paper Mario games, but I guess it's a very good clone. It just plays out really well. From what I have seen of it, it just looks pretty close to it. And for Game Builder Garage, it's really a very good game. Just brilliant for what it can do. I mean, the art that makes it look like an actual Mario game, the toads, and the fact that you can actually interact with all these characters like Luigi and stuff. It's very similar to I guess, if you tried to have Paper Mario designed in Game Builder Garage. Coming in the 4th on our list is a game known as VVVVVV. It's a game that I still haven't played yet, but it's a very simple platformer. I put it 4th on the list because it seems pretty good. It is a recreation of a platformer, as I've noted in the video that I featured this in, which was the last video that I made about this. And it's not half bad, really. It seems pretty good. And it's really popular on a lot of the places I go to find half of these games, so you know. But yeah. And now we're getting into the big parts on the list, where the games are actually even better, or just heaps better than a lot of the other games that I've featured on this channel that don't even compare in any way, shape, or form. And this one is SUPERHOT Garage. As I stated in my last video, it is a slight remake of SUPERHOT, but in Game Builder Garage. It plays out real nicely, and you know what? It's just absolutely beautiful to play. very simple. Some of the enemies can be defeated quickly, but that's due to how a Game Builder Garage works. The way the physics were involved in the game, like the whole game mechanic of time doesn't move unless you do, that is just absolutely hard, I think, to get into Game Builder Garage in the first place, and to have it look very realistic slash, you know, usable and stuff, you know, because it is very good for that. So yeah, it definitely deserves to be in the number 3 spot. And now in the number 2 spot is a game that I featured technically twice. I featured it in a live stream I did, I believe, at the beginning of this month, and I also featured it in a shorts, and this in its own short review. That also kind of forced me to buy a capture card, but oh well. This game is Super Monty Adventure. Absolutely beautiful game. It's a nice platformer. It plays out real nicely. I gave it a good 10 out of 10. Very simple. They actually put a title screen on that, and that I am just blown away by, because, you know, it's kind of a bit of a hard thing to do and go ahead with in Game Builder Garage, so I'm gonna have to put that on the number 2 spot, because there is a game that I did feature that is a little bit better, but this does actually provide very close competition. And at our number 1 spot, the most important thing of all, and you know, best game I've really played on Game Builder Garage so far, is a game known as Alone. I featured this in, I believe, my 2nd episode of this review, and it is a very good Game Builder Garage creation, because, well, it is just stunning what can happen here, because it comes in 4 games, but that's just because of how huge the world itself is. It's a very simple puzzle game. With the puzzles are a bit challenging, but you know, there's a lot of finding and search and find and stuff. There's a lot of physics that actually are pretty good, like the fact that there's like an elevator that's just a wall, and then if you walk through the door, it's literally, you can just walk into it and until you walk out, and it doesn't exist anymore. But you know, really well made game. I've given this a solid 10 out of 10 in the past, I believe, and honestly it really deserves that mark, because, well, it just plays real nicely. It's got a very nice story, a very rich story, and you know what? I just couldn't find a game that could beat that. So yeah. But yeah, that's it for today's video. If you like what you saw, please leave a like and subscribe. Huge thanks to all the people who created all these games that I've featured in like the past 3 to 4 videos that I've made about all these things. But yeah, I think this is gonna be